Hello, this is Yon Magurum. The car we're going to see today is the Filante. When the car was revealed, I reported it live from the event and so many people went wild about it. But since the event venue itself was quite dark, I also wanted to take a closer look at the Filante. The thing that people who want to buy the Filante are most curious about is how it differs from the Grand Koleos, which was released earlier. So I'll make sure to answer your questions clearly. You might be wondering if it really looks big in person. And the space people are most curious about is definitely the second row. Which car is actually more comfortable in the second row? Since it's a coupe-style design, you might also wonder if the second row space, especially the headroom, feels a bit cramped. We'll answer these questions together today. And we'll also compare the trunk space, which is the most important thing in a family SUV. So the most important part is right here, isn't it? We'll check if it has enough convenience features for its price and ultimately which car you should buy. Let's find out now. First, let's check out the exterior design. This is how the Filante looks in a bright place. When I first saw the Filante at the launch event, it was really dark. The presentation was held in a pitch black place, and the car they showed was also black. So it was a bit hard to really see it properly. And since it appeared so suddenly with such a bold face, I honestly thought, isn't this a bit too aggressive? Also, the feeling changes every time you see a car, right? How was the face of Filante the second time you saw it? Unlike the first time, I wasn't surprised or confused. It actually looked pretty good. At least for guys like me, I think we'd fall for this design. When you compare them side by side, Grand Koleos' face looks way too innocent. This vehicle is the Alpine trim, and even though it has blue color and red accents on the grille lights, when you compare them side by side, it really gives off the vibe of a well-behaved model student. On the other hand, Filante's face is anything but ordinary, no matter who looks at it. In fact, it goes beyond being ordinary and definitely emphasizes a unique personality. They're so different, so let's compare them. When it comes to the front design, the key is definitely the headlamp. The headlamp is shaped like a diamond, reminiscent of Renault's lozenge logo. If you look closely, there are actually a lot of diamond designs. The headlamp is a diamond, and if you connect the front daytime running light here, there's one here and another one over here, so overall it forms a diamond shape. The grille design is also entirely diamond shaped. So what about the actual headlamp? It looks really striking from the front, but if you look at it like this, wow, the design is really impressive, almost like binoculars sticking out. From the side, you can see how much it protrudes. So when I see it, wow, it's really different. And if you look at the side, there are these thin lines like decals. These lines look a bit like wings, so the headlamp design gives the impression of wings spreading out. It's a really striking look. On the other hand, the Grand Koleos has a wider headlamp design. From the outside, I thought it had a square design, but look inside here. On the inside, there are two sharp angles like this. The car over there, the Filante, is the one that has these sharp angles protruding outward. That's how you can think of it. The largest area on the front is of course the grille design. I thought the grille would be completely different too. There are some similarities. The Grand Koleos has a narrower top, and you can see that the patterns get wider as they go down. If you look from a distance, it's a design that gets wider from top to bottom, almost like a pyramid. It has that design element. On the other hand, the Filante has a completely different interpretation. While the Grand Koleos has a horizontally wide horizontal pattern that gets wider as it goes down, the Filante has lights added in various places, giving it a completely different feel. And at the bottom there's a complete black gradient, so while the Grand Koleos has a design that subtly changes as if paint is softly spreading downward, the Filante is completely different. The jumper's middle part has changed dramatically to black. So it definitely seems like the bold design element is the Filante. And this time, the Filante really made good use of lighting elements. It's morning right now, and even at this time, the lighting area is clearly visible. Especially, even though this car is a white-colored vehicle, I think this is the kind of impression you'll get when you see it on the road during the day. This design is really striking, isn't it? You can also see design elements that spin around, almost like a spinning top. And in the middle, it's connected with three small dotted lines in the design. I understand that this was added as a design feature specifically for domestic roads. And we might not have noticed, but if you look here, there's an air curtain hole. Wow, they really made it well. If you look over there, you can see the tire directly. Let me show you with my finger. See my finger? The wind comes in from the front here and goes straight through to this side. An aerodynamic design has been applied so that, as the car is running, air passes by the tire and cools the brake calipers and discs, which generate heat. Oh, even from the back, the hole is quite large. It's big enough for something to go all the way through. On the other hand, in the Grand Koleos, this design was blocked. If you check from the back, you'll see that this part is closed off. So, while details like this might seem minor, I think the Filante is definitely a car that pays attention even to these kinds of details. Also, some people think, isn't this similar? Because the platform is the same, but there are differences in the new Filante. But if you look at it one by one, a lot has really changed. Looking at the front, on the hood, there are character lines like this. 1, 2 on both sides, 3, 4. There are these creases. I thought this was similar. On the Grand Koleos, the outer sides are more deeply indented, creating a visual effect that makes it look wider on both sides. The character lines on the hood converge inward like this. That's the design of the Grand Koleos. When viewed from the side, it adds more volume. As for the Grand Koleos on the screen, the hood design itself extends straight out. When seen from the side, it plays a role in completing a sleeker, more classic coupe design. This is what the engine room of the Grand Koleos looks like. It's the heart, right? You can see the high voltage battery with its hybrid heart. When you look at the engine room, you can hardly see any difference between the two vehicles. If there's a part where you can feel a difference on the outside, it's the shape. The Grand Koleos has a front cover that touches the grille like this, and the interior design seems to be almost the same. You can also see that the cowl cover has been carefully soundproofed on the inside. This is what the Filante engine room looks like. When you look at it, you don't really feel much of a difference, but there are some differences in the covers themselves. The Filante has a larger electric motor capacity, and in terms of performance, it's a vehicle that can respond smoothly and in real time through a frequency-sensitive damper. I'll explain the detailed differences between the two vehicles through a test drive. At first I thought the tires were the same. The vehicle you're looking at now is the Grand Koleos, and it has a design that looks like deer antlers. The size is 245/45R, 20 inches. Considering the size of the vehicle, 20 inches is quite large. So, some people have said that the Grand Koleos feels a bit stiffer because of this. The suspension that completes the ride quality in the Grand Koleos and the Filante is completely different. At the front, the damper is inside the knuckle structure, and if you look at the rear, the damper is directly exposed. It's right here, this one. People are eagerly anticipating the Filante's ride quality. Test drive vehicles aren't out yet, but you can check by shaking the car. I pressed on the trunk and its rebound feels noticeably different. So even without driving this car, compared to the Grand Koleos, it seems to be basically set up with a softer tendency. Here, the frequency selective damper recognizes the frequency transmitted from bumps through the shock absorber, making the ride either softer or firmer depending on the situation. On good roads like highways, it responds softly to higher frequencies. On the other hand, during cornering or when the road surface is rough, the shock absorber becomes firmer, providing more stable handling. But now this has finally been applied to Filante. Judging by the fact that the specifications and platform of this damper look the same, maybe this damper could also be compatible with the Grand Koleos. That's just my guess though. We're also thinking of testing this ourselves, and if we get the chance later, we'll prepare a separate video about it. I thought the tire designs were the same, but as you can see, there are actually some differences. The wheel design of the Filante feels a bit more striking. Look at this, it even adds a sharper, more refined touch. And another difference from the Grand Koleos is that the Grand Koleos didn't have a welcome light feature. So, the lights would just turn on, but the welcome lighting feature is when, before you go to work in the morning and approach your car with the key, the car greets you like a living puppy. That's exactly what the welcome lighting does. Now, look at the Filante's welcome light. It's no joke. This is how it works. Even just looking at it, you can tell they really paid a lot of attention to these kinds of details. If you compare it to a person, Filante feels like someone wearing sunglasses, while Grand Koleos gives off the vibe of someone who has taken their sunglasses off. Let's also compare the side designs. Here's the Filante you were interested in. It has an extended waistline. Doesn't that seem awkward? That might be the reason why you really need to see it in person. Let's take a look. When you see Filante and Gran Koleos side by side, Gran Koleos actually looks a bit shorter. This is what the side of Filante looks like. Wow, that's really amazing. Especially when I explain the rear part later, take a look at the angle. This is what it looks like from a 45-degree angle from the inside. These two sharp points are really something. You couldn't see this kind of design in regular cars until now. And if you stand exactly from the side, this is how it looks, right? Personally, you know that tense moment right before a rocket's booster is launched? That's what it reminds me of. Especially, is this even possible? If you run a new car content channel, I hope you can also check whether this is possible with a new car. Wow, there has never been a design like this before. The line goes straight like this, and at its peak, it sticks out in the middle. Look, the end of the line is sticking out quite a bit from the surface. And as expected, it has a slim waist and the surface is carved flat. If you look from the side, you get this kind of design. That's why you haven't seen this kind of design in mass-produced cars until now. I want to say that the highlight of Filante is the tail lamp design. The completion of the sleek side design is the tail lamp design. Now then, what about Gran Koleos? Gran Koleos also received very good reviews for its design. On the other hand, when I compared them, I mentioned before that as soon as Gran Koleos came out, its rear design reminded me of the Porsche Cayenne. It also gives off a relatively innocent impression. The Alpine S plate design, which represents high performance, was also placed on the side like this. On the Gran Koleos, it's attached on the fender in this style. Still, since it's hard to see this kind of design in Korea, a lot of people have said they want to have it. As for Filante, they actually carved out the hood, reprocessed the mold and added a garnish. Depending on the angle you look at it, they included a sharp design element that looks like lighting is coming in. Essentially, it's a small difference, but I think a lot of people might choose Filante because of this definitely sophisticated feel. Since Filante is a coupe, the side design was interpreted differently as well. The first noticeable part is the wheelhouse cladding design. I think this is the first time I've seen a car make the wheelhouse cladding look this stylish. For mass market cars, just the wheelhouse cladding itself is impressive enough. They debated if it should be glossy, matte, or match the body color. What about Filante's wheelhouse? If you look closely, it's not reflective. They added a triangular element here as well and continued with a triangle on this side and a small triangle over here. Also, it's a design element where the triangles overlap. We often say that it would be nice if the fender had a bit more volume and became an over fender. You've mentioned this a lot, right? This car truly embodies the over fender style, offering a unique impression from every angle. Now similarly, the Gran Koleos has a glossy finish, but it features a more standard wheelhouse design. I think this part also shows that the car is definitely styled with flair, which is what I believe about the Flant. The Flant interprets it a bit differently from the Gran Koleos, with the area above the rocker panel under the first and second row doors. Looking here, you'll see the flex color was added. The bottom is a garnish, while the top features a hairline finish, just like the design. Smart devices often have a grain pattern, and you can see that same textured design here. On the other hand, in the Gran Koleos, these design elements serve more as accent points. Since it's an Alpine vehicle, you can see these blue accent design elements. Maybe that's why the Flant is a slimmer vehicle with a coupe-style design. Including the front, the side design of the Flant gives off a much more dynamic feel. To put it a bit strongly, you know how BMW, which usually gives us the joy of driving, has the X5 and X6 models? The basic platform and characteristics of these two vehicles are similar. But the designs are completely different. It's like, if Gran Koleos is the X5, then the Flant is like the X6 with design elements that really make your heart flutter every time you see it. Actually, I'm currently driving an X5 and I feel that way. While driving the X5, every time I see an X6, I often think, man, maybe I should have bought the X6 instead. Comparing the two cars side by side like this, I can't help but think that way. If you look at the profile, you can see the design gradually slopes down after the second row. You can think of this car as an enlarged version of that design. In the case of the Flant, after the first row, the design sweeps sharply down like a swallow's tail at the second row. On the other hand, the Gran Koleos has a design that starts at the first row and drops down to the second row in a relatively thicker way. And let's also check out the design of the rear end. No need to explain the rear design. You can clearly see it's a completely different vehicle. First, if you look from the top, the rear spoiler design, wow, is this even possible? You really need to take a closer look. Usually, spoilers are shaped so that the wind flows over them like this. But they've actually made it into a full wing. It really sticks out. Look at how deep my hand goes in. You can see there's space for more than 2 hands. There's this much room here, so honestly, it makes you wonder if it's even possible to do something like this on a mass market car. If you look from above, the design is like this. It feels like a trident. If you just attach a handle to the back, it looks like you could use it as a trident. It gives off a really strong impression. It's amazing, really amazing. Some people might find the front design a bit too bold or even overwhelming, depending on their taste, but I don't think there will be any mixed opinions about the rear design. In a word, it's just cool. It's simply cool. Anyone who sees it would think, I want to have it. Why? You haven't seen this kind of design in mass market cars before, especially the 3-part combo on the side. If you look at it from above, you have to ask, who would expect to see this kind of design in a mass market car? It's crazy. The design of the tail lamp, which completes the dynamic look, works like a sequential lamp when it's operating. A meteor is a shooting star, right? When a shooting star travels from far away and reaches the ground, it disappears in an instant. This dynamic design captures that feeling really well. And if you look closely, these patterns are included here too. It's not just a regular lamp. Look, we've added these stripe patterns like this. As you go inward, they're shorter, and on the outside, they're much longer. We've paid attention to this level of detail, so it's no wonder so many people are amazed. If you look closely here, you'll see Renault's lettering engraved. But what's surprising is how detailed Renault is, more than you'd expect. I've already explained things like the rescue emblems. Whenever I look at a Renault vehicle, I always end up checking out this design. If you look at the front, there's a tiger mark. This tiger mark represents born in France, made in Korea. By placing these details on the front glass, it's a design that lets you know, this is a Renault vehicle. Also, the rescue code, which symbolizes safety, is of course provided on the front as well. Now everyone, scan this with your smartphone. What screen appears? This is what you'll see. Why is it needed? In case of an unexpected accident, though we hope it never happens. In such cases, it's important to quickly rescue the people in the vehicle. This Q rescue code shows how to quickly rescue people from the vehicle, and it also displays the structure of the vehicle here. So, it's a guide that helps rescuers respond quickly and efficiently to ensure safety. Isn't that amazing? Another element that completes the design of the front is the design of the lower bumper. There's really nothing ordinary about it. You could see a textured design element on the upper part of the side logo panel, and they've included it here as well. If you look at the vehicle from a little distance, you can see a dynamic design that gives off the tension you feel right before a rocket launches into space. Looking from above, you can see how big this part is. You see the rear spoiler area? It's this big. You can also see these aerodynamic parts around the front wheelhouse. The car really pays extra attention to aerodynamics. On the rear side, you can also see an unusual logo. Who would dare to imagine adding a blue tint to a black color like this? Usually they add red, but this design is really luxurious and intense. This is Filante's rear window. It's heavy, there's no wiper. The reason there's no wiper is that wind comes in from the front and creates a vortex here, so this area can be kept completely clean by removing any contaminated substances smoothly. On the other hand, the Koleos has a rear wiper. It definitely gives off a sophisticated vibe. However, for those who want to discover their own unique design elements, along with a sophisticated look, the design of the Flant definitely suits them better than the Koleos. So, when it comes to exterior design elements, which car is better or worse? Just like with the BMW X5 and X6, if you prefer a more stable and solid design, the Koleos has received good reviews and would be a good choice for you. No, I still prefer a more intense feeling. I want to drive fast. If you also care about fun driving elements, then the Flant would be a better choice for you. That should cover the main differences in exterior design. Now, if you're curious about the interior space and what differences there are, since the video is getting a bit long, let's check that out through the video. If this was helpful, please give it a like. Subscribe and turn on notifications to get accurate new car information quickly. Thank you.